Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. We're going to get started here with the audio version of the Johnny Cleveland podcast. So thanks again for coming over, and we're going to get started here right now. So 1 second. So glad that you could join us. Welcome. Welcome to this evening's Johnny Cleveland podcast. How did you guys like the interview, the preview there that I added? If you're listening to the podcast on the audio tonight, had that little preview there. Went back and listened to Matt and Mariah had some very fun things to say about lots of things, and so. Good to have you this evening on a Friday night. Hey, it's the Browns are playing the Baltimore Ravens, and I've decked out in my Baker Mayfield gear, and excited to wear the Baker Mayfield jersey. I had waited a long time to decide if I wanted to purchase one, and decided to do that. So I'm excited. Again, you've come to the Johnny Cleveland podcast, and I am your host. Let's see here if I can get this to. We're streaming out to Facebook and also to YouTube this time. So it's exciting to be able to do that and have all of you watching. And thank you again. You can follow the show. My email here for our website is that's our email at Gmail. And then our website is the J Cleveland Pod. And and then you can follow us again also on Facebook and Twitter at the J Cleveland Pod handle. So again, I hope you liked that preview last night. You know, Mariah and Matt were on Wednesday late evening from Seattle, and we had a lot of fun doing that with them. And I liked how Mariah, first of all, I didn't like the fact that they both picked Baltimore to win. Now, I know a lot of you out there who are going to be watching, and I'll have another prediction again for that game later at the end of the show, but they picked against the Browns. I like how Mariah called Joe Burrow Joe Schmo, and I'll be calling him that the rest of the season, I think, Joe Schmo. Mariah was very fond of Myles Garrett. So we'll see, and even asked her about the Baker Mayfield commercials. They don't see those out there in Seattle, I guess. So anyway, so the Indians are playing. I don't know if you can see that behind me. Shane Bieber is pitching tonight. It's a little bit of a nasty, yucky night up there in Minnesota. And the Indians continue to play pretty crappy. And it kind of suits the weather tonight for them. Shane Bieber just gave up a 2-run homer. If you were watching that and you've come over to watch our podcast, I'll let you get back to that tantalizing, exciting Indians game. Indians are still, they're 26-18 coming in to this game. They're seeded. If the playoffs were to start tonight, they would be seeded number 7. There is a little bit of a drop off between 7 and 8. The top 8 teams go. I think New York Yankees right now are number 8. I think they're 21-20. Indians are 26-18. There's just not a lot of space in between. There's a little bit of space between the Yankees and the Indians, but all the other teams are bunched up a little bit higher. So we'll see. I mean, the Indians are not producing at the plate. Now, tonight they put Frankie Lindor in the 1 spot. We'll see how that goes. He hit a nice deep fly out to the outfield, but it was a pop-up caught. The Indians got to start coming alive. It's a short season. The season's going to be over here in a matter of weeks. And they don't have a lot of time to make a lot of adjustments offensively. Hopefully they can rely on their pitching when we do get in that first round of playoffs. If the Indians make it that far, it's a best of 3 series. And so with that, putting Bieber out there, putting Zach Plesac out there, being 2 really strong starters, and the Indians would have a really good shot in that first round. But who knows, right? we're just kind of looking at, we're going to switch gears and we're going to kind of talk about the Browns. Well, before we get to the Browns, there's been just a few other things. Yesterday, Ohio State, we continue to have this discussion about the Buckeyes and about the Big Ten and if they're going to play and if they're not going to play. Ryan Day, the head coach of Ohio State, came out and basically pleaded with the Big Ten again last night, encouraging the Big Ten to make a decision because players and families are really feeling there aren't answers. And there is some truth to that. So, but the Big Ten did come out with a decision earlier, and they said they weren't going to play. So we'll see. I know it's hurting a lot of folks, especially locally here, who love the Big Ten and watching Big Ten football, and to see these other leagues around the country playing right now, it just really is aggravating, I'm sure, to the average fan. I'd love to see the Buckeyes out there playing, but there were decisions that were made, and they were based on medicine and health and all of that with everything that's been going on for the last 6 months. So we'll see where things go. I think a lot of it is wrapped up in like testing, how rapidly these tests can work and detect any sort of sickness in players and these athletes. There have been some interesting side notes, with other things around the sport. I know Michigan has a governor, Whitmer, who's just installed. She's allowing for football to be played in Michigan, but came out with a directive yesterday that said that any players that are participating or practicing or performing or competing other than swimming have to wear a mask even during that competition. So we shall see how that plays out. I know some folks that I've listened to over the last couple of days talk about that aren't very, very excited about that. I've talked to my daughter. We've talked about that before, how she used to be a basketball player. And we talked about it on a podcast where, she's got asthma. And so I'm sure that there will be other examples like that. So, we'll monitor that, see where things go. All right. So today's Friday, right? So we have to finish off with our Friday favorites. So I've got a list of favorite things that we like to do on a Cleveland Browns Sunday. So I'll look forward to talking about that a little bit. I did want to kind of take just 1 second to, today is 9/11, September 11th, and many of us know that back in September 11th, 2001, the World Trade Centers were attacked, knocked down by planes that knocked into them. So I just and over 3,000 United States citizens and other citizens from around the world were killed. And very tragically, it's a very, very, very hard day for a lot of us, especially who experienced that firsthand. I had an interesting discussion with family tonight, and with my wife, Laura, we were discussing just that event and how, the other event that we kind of experienced was like prior to that, back in '84, when the Challenger space shuttle was exploded on takeoff. And so those events have really, we remember that in our generation, because the conversation got started because we were talking about 9/11, but we also been talking like about the pandemic and how this is such a new experience for all of us, right? And with that being said, the young, we have these discussions constantly right now about how young people are looking at this pandemic, young little kids, teenagers. Why aren't they taking it seriously to wear, masks and things like that? Because they're teenagers. And so we were saying how, when we get older and we have grandkids and great grandkids, and let's say that there is something that happens, let's say 30 or 40 years from now, like maybe another pandemic. Those people like ourselves and the younger people who are living through this pandemic now will look at that event much, much differently. It's kind of the same way that when we listen to our great grandparents and our grandparents and our parents and our aunts and uncles, and they talk about other events that happened to them when they were younger, like the World Wars or like Vietnam. our us and our generation that we weren't through that event, and so we don't really understand completely what those people in that generation went through. So it's just a very interesting way to look at things and perspective. And I just thought, with 9/11 today, next year will be 20 years since 9/11. So just thoughts and memories with all those that were affected by that. And all right, so couple other things, just I want to hit on before we start talking a little bit more about the Browns. And on Sunday, the famous sportscaster there, Skip Bayless, made some comments in the news about Dak Prescott. I don't know if you heard any of this probably in the last 2 days, but Dak Prescott is the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. He was talking about some depression issues that he's had. He brought those issues up, I think, out into the local media. And so Skip Bayless was made some kind of comments yesterday that were sort of detrimental, and just talking about why he didn't think that Dak should have done that. It was a little bit of an interesting discussion if you listen back to it. He wasn't really putting down Dak necessarily, but he was talking about Dak Prescott kind of being above, kind of being, he shouldn't be allowed to be depressed. And so Skip Bayless has got a lot of criticism for that. But, all these sportscasters like Skip Bayless and Jason Whitlock, I talked about him on a previous podcast. So many of these guys are just out there to try to get, people's attention and to get people to click on their show or their tab or their link. So, it's just very sad. I appreciate a player of Dak Prescott's fame. He's going through a hard time. His brother had committed suicide earlier, and he discussed going through depression. Players that we know that here in Cleveland, Kevin Love has vocally shared his own stories, and we know that happens routinely with many players and many athletes. And so it is a topic that needs to continued to be talked about, and I applaud especially the younger people to be able to talk about it more fluidly than some of us in the past generation. So, okay, so let me see here. We got I got all these notes, So if you're watching this, I know my dad loves to watch the podcast, and he's always taking notes of the fact that he knows how I like to write my notes. And if he's watching right now, he'll notice that I have like 3 sets of notes scattered throughout. So I have all my thoughts, but they're all on these different sheets of paper. So, okay. So let's get back. Let's get to the Brownies. The Browns today, Kevin Stefanski, the Browns coach, said that he was going to be the play caller starting the season off. He knows the Minnesota. He was from Minnesota. He brought that offense over here. And so he made the call this afternoon in the local media. He said he would be doing the play calling. Not only is the head coach, but he would be making the calls. Van Pelt is our offensive coordinator, and he Stefanski work well together. Hopefully they'll get things going. It'll be a collaborative affair, is kind of the way that he talked about it. Interesting, I was looking back, because the Browns don't usually win home openers. I hope you enjoyed that little take if you watched Mariah and Matt and I talk about that. And even my own daughter, Mariah, knows that the Browns usually don't win. I liked her comment also about how, I said, what about Cleveland having 2 teams? If you remember that. And she said, well, first the Browns have to be good. So, which is true. Now, the last time the Browns were really good and they had a first-year coach was back in 1989. They had Bud Carson. If you remember Bud Carson, his opening win was a 51-0 win over the hated Pittsburgh Steelers. That was actually the last year that the Browns actually won the AFC division title back in '89. So just a little bit of history there. So let's see if Kevin Stefanski can get going here. I'm very interested in seeing what happens. The last time, see, the Browns went out to Baltimore a year ago. If you remember that game, we won. I think the final score was 34-21 or something like that. And Baker Mayfield was outstanding in that game. He had 342 yards. He had a touchdown. And Nick Chubb ran for 165 yards. Baker had 102 passer rating that game. So Chubb ran for 165 yards. He had 3 of those touchdowns. If you remember, he had that awesome run at some point late in the game where he went off and he went 80, 90 yards to the house for the touchdown. So, the key in beating Baltimore is running the ball, and Stefanski's offense is built around the run and the tight ends. And so I really think that this game is really going to be interesting. And I give the Browns, I have the Browns winning. I'll give you my prediction here at the end here, but I think that the Browns are going to surprise people this year. And I think that the way Stefanski is going to go about playing this offense, I can see it being sort of boring, but also reliable. And I think that he has so many offensive weapons that I think he's going to do some really cool things. And these players are all going to buy into that. So I'm excited to see how that all pans out. Okay. So I thought we would leave. Well, I got a couple things here at the end of the show. One, we'll finish with our Friday favorite. Well, actually, let's do Friday favorites right now. And so these are my favorite Cleveland Browns things to do on a Sunday. So Sunday, we all have different things that we do, habits, rituals. If you're a Cleveland Browns diehard fan, like some of us are, like I, who wearing my Baker jersey today. So these are my 5 favorite things to do on a typical Sunday watching the Browns. Now, you have to keep in mind that I lived in Kansas for 26,000 years. And so I didn't get to go to games locally here in Cleveland. I'm so happy that, now I got season tickets, but with the COVID pandemic going on, I pushed those season tickets to next year. So let's just kind of review about the Friday favorites here. So the 5th best thing I like doing on a Sunday before a Browns game is make a great hearty breakfast with bacon and eggs. I said something to my wife about this, and she says, "Well, you make that every morning." So, let me add a little fruit, into that. But I like to have a good solid breakfast with the family, and then the next thing on 4 would be then start listening to the radio background. It was nice to live when you lived in Kansas because the game started at noon out in Kansas in Central Time. And so I could start listening to the radio teams on 8:50 a.m. on the Cleveland Browns network and get all the pregame previews. And it was always fun to do that. So number 3 on my list is obviously dressing up in all my Browns gear here. I went through the closet the other day, and I was telling, if you listened to the last podcast with Matt and Mariah, that I have a bazillion different items, like a lot of us Browns fans. So, okay. So number 2 is then going, when I lived in Kansas, it was going to Quincy's, which is the local sports bar there, with my Browns backers. A lot of you know that I was the president of that local club for a few years, and thoroughly enjoyed that experience. The group in Wichita is called the Oz Chapter because of the Wizard of Oz. And they're a wonderful group. If any of you travel or are somewhere in near the Wichita area and it's a Sunday and it's during the Brown season, I would highly recommend you stop in the Quincy's when they're not having a pandemic. Apparently, this year they're not having the games there because of it's a sports bar and the social distancing. So, but Quincy's is a great place. They have the back room is decked out just for us Browns fans. And you'd be surprised, living in the middle of Kansas, in the middle of the country, that there is this hardy group of battled, hardy fans that many of us are from Cleveland. But actually, the president of the club now, Josh, he's not even from Cleveland, and he's like the biggest like Cleveland fan that outside of me that you're going to find. But it's a great group. At years when the Browns would be a little bit thin on wins, well, they've been thin on wins for many years. There was always that group. There would be like 13 or 15 guys that would come like religiously to these games. So that was always a fun experience. It was fun. It was a lot of just fun times amongst the fans and that local group there. Okay, and the last thing, the best thing to be as a Browns fan is to actually be there at the games, at the stadium, down on the lakefront, seeing all the tailgating, seeing all the folks that are, having a party prior to going into the game, and just getting into that stadium and just experiencing that. It's just beyond anything. I can always remember when I was a kid growing up and going to the old municipal stadium. The first couple of times I would go there for a Browns game, just that experience to see that large green area of beautiful field and to see these guys play on that, and just that experience. And the Browns had so many great years when I was a kid, especially throughout the 1980s, to get to see all those teams that were winning. It would just be fantastic to get that back in Cleveland. I know that the older fans understand that, but just to provide that fun and excitement for the young people would just be so exciting. So, all right. So those are my Friday favorite Sunday Cleveland Browns Sundays. Okay. So I'm going to give you at the end, this is the last bit on our show today. I'm going to give you my prediction for the Browns game for Sunday. Prior to that, I'm going to give you 5 games each week. I'm going to give you my call, win or loss for these teams, and then you guys can keep track. I'll keep track and see what my record is if you want to keep tabs with me and see if you get a better record. But I think I'll beat you. So, all right, here we go. So the Jets play the Bills. So the New York Jets play the Buffalo Bills. I'm doing this in honor of Mariah and Matt, and all those folks up in Buffalo who I'm friends with. Buffalo is a great town. University of Buffalo is up there. And so Jets versus the Bills. I'm going with the Bills. Bills with the win over the New York Jets. Okay, next game. Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the New Orleans Saints. Now, a lot of us know that Tom Brady now is down in Tampa Bay. I think Tom Brady's going to get a rude awakening when he goes down to play New Orleans over the weekend. And I see the Saints coming out with a big win over the Buccaneers in that one. All right, the next game. This is my upset of the week. The Dolphins play the Patriots. The Dolphins are playing the Patriots. All right, so Patriots no longer have Tom Brady. The Dolphins have Ryan Fitzpatrick, the veteran who's been everywhere, starting for them this year. The Patriots are a 6.5-point favorite. However, the Patriots have lost 8 of their starters. And if you watch any football at the end of last year, the Dolphins were really playing well. They were playing as a team. And, I see the Dolphins winning that. So my upset is the Dolphins over the Patriots. Next game is the Chargers against the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, I don't know, the Chargers aren't in San Diego anymore, so they're the LA Chargers. But they're playing the Joe Schmo Bengals, or Joe Burrow, or Joe Schmo, like Mariah says, the Bengals. And I do pick the Bengals to win this game. A little bit of the Chargers are traveling across the country, and I think Joe Burrow is, even though he's a rookie, I have a feeling that he'll do pretty decently and defeat the Chargers. All right. The last game I'm going to pick is the Dallas Cowboys against the LA Rams. And Mike McCarthy now is the coach of the Dallas Cowboys. And with that, and Dak Prescott has he doesn't have a lot to prove, but I think he's going to come out and play a very good game considering all of the media attention he's received this last week. And I see that and if you recall, the last time Dallas played the Rams last year, late in the season, Dallas ran all over them, and Dallas won that game big. I'm going to go again with Dallas. They are playing in the LA Rams new stadium. I forget the name of it, but I saw the total cost. It cost to build that stadium $5.5 billion. $5.5 billion. Unbelievable. Okay, now we're getting to our game, the Brownies. Here we go. And many of you already knew this. I already picked them to win. Thought about this a while, and so I have them winning with the final score of 26-21. I think that what's going to happen is the Browns are going to, it's going to kind of, I could even see the Browns going down early. Lamar Jackson's going to be hyped up. People are going to think, oh, here they go. But I think the Browns are going to slow things down. Eventually, I think they're going to continue to run. I think they're eventually going to take over that lead. They're going to miss some extra point. They always miss an extra point. So I'm thinking they're going to get like 3 touchdowns, and then on one of their touchdowns, they're going to miss the extra point, and then they're going to have 2 field goals, and they're going to hold on for dear life at the very end. It's going to look like Baltimore's going to beat them at the end, and Cleveland's going to somehow, they're going to get a touchdown, take the lead kind of late in the game, and hold on for dear life and pull out the win for rookie head coach Kevin Stefanski. All right, there's my prediction. Hey, it's a Friday night, right? I hope you guys have some fun this weekend. Stay safe, do things with the family, and I hope everybody has a great weekend. Next week, I know, the Browns are going to be playing a quick turnaround for the Browns. They have their home opener then against Joe Schmo and the Cincinnati Bengals, and that's Joe Burrow. But I like Joe Schmo better. Good call on that one, Mariah. All right, so they have that game is going to be on Thursday, so we'll be talking about that quickly, and it's going to go fast, folks. So hopefully the Indians. I don't know what the Indians are doing behind me, but hopefully maybe their offense decided to turn it on, but probably not. All right, guys, have a great weekend, and remember to always keep smiling. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you're out there, thank you on YouTube, and thanks for watching on Facebook. And we'll provide some more fun entertainment on Monday. We're going to be coming on with a little discussion after the game on Sunday, and then have follow up with a new another show then on Mondays. All right, everybody, take care, and go Browns! Woo-hoo! All right.